A very good afternoon and a warm welcome to all our esteemed guests and to dear learners. I am Dr. Riya Tukral from the Homeopathic Academy, and we are here today to discuss a very essential topic: incorporation of homeopathic philosophy in day-to-day practice with Dr. Akshay Swami. We have Dr. Akshay Swami live with us right now, as you can see. Before I hand over to him, I would like to quickly take this opportunity to wish all our teachers, all our mentors, our gurus, our guides a very happy Teachers' Day, as it is the Teachers' Day today. And about the Homeopathic Academy, since you all already know what and who we are, but in case you have come to our platform for the first time, let me quickly introduce ourselves before not taking much time of yours. So the Homeopathic Academy, or THA as we call it, is BGen's efforts towards digitalizing homeopathy and providing a platform for quality education online. THA offers you a range of online courses by well-known academicians on numerous subjects of homeopathy at undergraduate, postgraduate, UPSC and CME levels. All these courses are enriched with state-of-the-art audio-video technology, text and vector animations, giving you an HD quality audio and video experience made by a dynamic team of qualified doctors, video editors, and many more professionals. These courses will perfectly complement your studies to make learning an extraordinary experience. On your screens, you can see some of our courses currently streaming on our website www.thehomeopathicacademy.com. There is also a course by Dr. Akshay Swami that's named Homeopathic Philosophy, where he has taught us a lot about homeopathy, everything and anything that you need to know to learn homeopathy and know homeopathy better. So that's about us. Coming back to this webinar, thank you so much, sir, for being here with us. We are in great pleasure that you're here with us today.
Thanks a lot, madam. It's in fact a great pleasure for me too, for being the part of the Homeopathic Academy, and it's an honor to be able to present something on the auspicious day of Teachers' Day. I would surely take this opportunity to share some valuable things about homeopathic philosophy and our art of medicine, madam.
Yes, you are our teacher today, so happy Teachers' Day to you as well.
Thanks a
And
lot, madam. It's a privilege.
before I hand over to you, let me quickly explain our learners how this interface works. So on the right-hand side panel of your screens, you have a short chat box. You may type your question or whatever message you have for Dr. Akshay Swami right there and press the button next to it to send it to us. I request you all to send your questions only after the lecture is over so that he might not get disturbed. So without wasting any more time, let's start learning. Over to you, sir.
Thanks a lot, madam. Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I would like to wish everyone, all my teachers and all my seniors, and everyone who has been a part of my journey, a very happy Teachers' Day. So the topic for today's webinar is incorporation of homeopathic philosophy in day-to-day practice. As you all know, that I am Dr. Akshay Swami, and I have done my PHMS from West Bengal University of Health Sciences, and I'm a tutor at the Homeopathic Academy BGen, where you can find 18 modules of free learning for the course on the homeopathic philosophy. So in today's webinar, we will be dealing with some of the greatest topics for learning the philosophy and the methods. So I would like to acknowledge that I am highly grateful to my mentors, Dr. Debashri Das sir, Dr. Govind Pandurang Patil sir, Dr. Ashish Jaiswal sir, Mr. Manish Jain sir, and Mr. Emerson sir, who have inspired and motivated me to prepare this presentation. They are very motivating, well, inspiring, change, bringing out personality, and has the indomitable true spirit within to bring out the change socially, economically, morally, culturally, ethnically, with the true spirit within to develop one and all to make a unique and sublime nation. I'm also thankful to all my teachers and parents for always motivating and inspiring me to work hard sincerely in order to become a nation builder by taking up responsibility on my shoulders. So we will start our presentation by the blessings of founder of homeopathy, that is Dr. Christian Frederick Samuel Hahnneman sir's blessings. By his blessings, we will start the topic of homeopathic philosophy. First of all, I'm sure that you already know what homeopathy is. It is a system of medicine that is based on treating the individual with highly diluted substances that trigger the body's natural system of healing. My friends, here the important thing to note is the body's natural system of healing. Our body is blessed with its own system of healing. Recognizing that the whole person, mind, and body is affected when sick is the basis of this holistic system of medicine. My friends, when we talk about the sick individual, then we talk about the patient as a whole. When we talk about the patient as a whole, then we take about the totality and the individuality. What do the homeopath do? The homeopath will match the most appropriate medicine to the patient based on the unique experience of their symptoms. According to Carol Dunham, homeopathy is the art of therapeutics. Hahnneman lays out the principles of homeopathy in his work Organon of Medicine. Hahnneman published his work in the major medical journals of his time. He began teaching medicine in Leipzig in 1811. Homeopathy was defined by Hahnneman and must be practiced according to the principles he described. Homeopathy is a natural medicine. My friends, when we say that it is a natural medicine, we should understand that we have got our principles, got our philosophical ideologies from homeopathy. A homeopathic remedy is used to stimulate the person to heal himself. My friends, we are stimulating our own system, our own body mechanism so that it can heal himself. And when we talk about healing, by healing we mean the process of curing. Curing means to establish the harmony, to establish the balance in the human body that was disturbed. And how it was disturbed, why it was disturbed, what were the causes, that we will learn in our further slides. Remedies are made from natural sources, that is plants, minerals, and animal. They are potentized beyond their origins, making them an energetic and dynamic medicine. My friends, here we should keep in mind that our medicines are energetic and dynamic medicine. What do we mean when we say that they are energetic? We say that they are energetic means they have the capability to bring out some change or some action upon the economy of the human body, that is, upon the body as a whole. Homeopathy can treat both acute and chronic illnesses. It is safe for people of all ages, newborns to the elderly, including pregnant women. Here I would like to quote one of the saying of Dr. James Tyler Kent. While homeopathy itself is a perfect science, its truth is only partially known. The truth itself relates to the divine. The knowledge relates to man. So my friends, when we are going to be at the path of homeopathic philosophy, then we will be towards the development of divinistic, humanistic attitude, where we will understand the truth, because homeopathy is a mystery, and revealing the mystery means revealing the scientific facts and the science behind it. So my friends, we have to discuss about the importance of philosophy in the modern era. How are the speculations? How are the modern experimental distinctive criteria? And what are the different things that we have to incorporate so that we can be confident about what we are doing? Philosophy of homeopathy. Philosophy is literally the love of wisdom. It is the knowledge of what is true or right, knowing what is appropriate to each situation. My friends, by the philosophy itself, we understand that we have to be able to judge what is right and what is wrong. And of course, the motto of organon of medicine is ordes sapere, that is, dare to be wise. So the wise person discerns the right action in each situation. And what are these situations? These situations are the daily life cases that we homeopaths encounter. And we have to apply our wisdom, because if we don't apply our wisdom, we cannot be sure of the medicine. We cannot be sure of the potency. We cannot be sure of the power and its particular repetition. So we need a philosophy of medicine, a way to study nature that will give a direction to our practice. Why, my friends? Because nature is a teacher whose wisdom we can learn. And without it, the human life is in vain and incomplete. So there are a lot of things going on in our nature, and we must understand the nature itself. In an allopathic book, Introduction to the Philosophy of Medicine, is written in 1994, said that modern medicine lacks a philosophy, that is, lacks the wisdom. So my friends, we have basically three branches of medicine. One is prophylaxis, other is diagnosis, and the third is therapeutics. Well, I'm sure that you all may be knowing that prophylaxis means prevention, diagnosis means to diagnose the case through the knowledge of practice of medicine, and therapeutics means to apply the proper medicine, that is the therapeutic part. So we have the three branches of medicine. What is prophylaxis? Prophylaxis is the promotion of health and prevention of disease. It includes hygiene. So my friends, by prophylaxis, we understand that we need to promote the health. And how can we promote the health? We can promote the health only when we know the things that derange the health. We should know that what is the proper environment for a person to grow. What kind of cleanliness should be there? What sort of environment should be developed so that the diseases may be prevented? And it includes hygiene. So we must take care of the hygiene. So the next branch is diagnosis. Diagnosis is the understanding of the whole phenomenon of disease from beginning to end. That is, we should understand that what is going on inside the body from the beginning to the end. That is the prognosis of the disease. But if we can diagnose the disease, if we can diagnose the case, then we will be sure of what we have to do and how are we going to identify the uncommon symptom from the common symptoms. Now, my friends, let's talk about therapeutics. Therapeutics is the treatment of disease with the aim of restoring health. So, what is the aim? To restore the health. And we know, my friends, very well from the first aphorism of Organon of Medicine that the physician's high and only mission is to restore the sick to health, to cure as it is termed. So when we are going towards the therapeutics, then we are targeting to achieve the cure. And my friends, to cure a person means to take care of the disease or to take care of the sick state of the person so that the person may be ameliorated of the problems. Well, humans do not become sick in part, but rather as a whole. My friends, all of us know that even if we catch a cold, then it is not just the development of the mucus or the development of the sneezes or the cough. Even we become irritated. We become mentally anxious. We feel a lot of anger. We feel a lot of dissatisfaction. So what is happening? It is not just the particular tissues that are affected, but the body as a whole is going towards a derangement state. In illness, the body manifests symptoms to demonstrate this mistunement. My friends, keep in mind this word mistunement. What do we say? The tuning of the body is disturbed. The tuning means the harmony. The body, all the tissues, all the cells, they were working in perfect harmony with each other. But now something is wrong. There is a mistunement. An imbalance of the vital force is the origin of the illness. Always remember, my friend, there has come an imbalance inside the vital force. The symptoms expressed by the body and mind are simply the signposts telling of that imbalance. So what are these signposts? These are the symptoms. And we know, my friends, very well from the definition that outwardly reflected picture of the internal essence of the human body is known as the symptom or the totality of the symptom. So something is going on inside the human body and that is being reflected outside. Homeopaths use such symptoms to select a remedy, especially for that person in his illness. The remedy is a potentized substance also having an energy force. The energy force of a remedy acts on the vital force. Once the vital force returns to balance, the person heals himself. So, my friends, we understand that when is the body going to heal itself? When the energy force of a remedy, because the moment, the day human being was born or we were born on this planet, we were born with a vitality. That vitality promoted the life. That is the vitality to live. That is what we call the vital force that keeps pushing us towards a balance. That we understand it is autocratic, automatic, and it is unintelligent. It has only one aim, to keep the body safe. But if the God would have gifted us only with this vitality, then the human being would have never felt sick, would have never become ill, and the life would have prolonged forever, and the balance of the universe would have been greatly disrupted. So what happened to the human body? Along with the vital force came the miasmatic force. And this miasmatic force was the life-limiting force. It was only to a certain extent that a body could live. But our objective is to power up the vital force, and so that the vital force will win and the diseases and the unwanted signs and symptoms will be gone. Well, my friends, here I would like to quote the provision number 6, where it is written, this is in homeopathy includes the subjective experience of the patient along with the objective observations. My friends, we know that subjective experience is something that is going on inside the mind of a person that we cannot see, but we can feel it through his communication, we can feel it through his face, we can feel the sadness, we can feel the grief and the sorrow. Our father of homeopathy, Dr. Samuel Hahnneman, writes, all these perceptible signs, see, perceptible. Perceptible means something that we could perceive through our senses. That is, we could see, we could touch, we could feel it. All these perceptible signs represent the disease in its whole extent. That is, together, they form the true and only conceivable portrait of the disease. That is said by Dr. Samuel Hahnneman. Next, let's talk about development of homeopathy by Dr. Samuel Hahnneman. Samuel Hahnneman shaped the philosophy and scientific art of homeopathy in the late 18th century. We all know the story of Cullen's Materia Medica. While translating Cullen's Materia Medica, Hahnneman found what he believed to be a fanciful discussion of Peruvian bark, cinchona, in association with intermittent fever. He experimented on himself by taking the substance and found that he developed the symptoms of intermittent fever. Through the observation of the effects of cinchona on himself, a healthy individual, Hahnneman realized that these were in turn the very symptoms that the bark could cure. He then used the substance to successfully treat a woman with the symptoms of relapsing fever. Therefore, homeopathy was born through the observation of the law of similars, that is, like cures like. So we all know about the Cullen's Materia Medica and how Hahnneman took the Peruvian bark, because earlier in Hufvudstaden Journal it was written that the curative effect of Peruvian bark is because of its bitter taste. And this explanation was not satisfactory to our father of homeopathy, and he himself took the medicine and proved the symptoms on himself, from where the principle came into its existence. Now we'll talk more about the development of homeopathy. Shortly after, Hahnneman developed another important law of homeopathy, that is infinitesimal doses, that is minimal doses. He found it was unsafe to keep toxic doses of various substances to heal himself and other provers, as adverse and poisoning effects resulted. My friends, we all know that homeopathy was started by the crude drug substances, as Hahnneman himself took the Peruvian bark. Also, when he was proving Bryony alba, he chewed the roots of the Bryony alba. So what happened? He found that the toxic effects of the particular drug were creating more problems. So what was happening? The unwanted aggravations, serious aggravations were coming after administering the medicine. So what our father of homeopathy wanted to do, he wanted to reduce these aggravations and increase the amelioration, increase the medicinal power. So he started to minimize the dose, That is, there came the law of minima. Through trial and error, he was led to the concept of potentization. Always remember, our father of homeopathy himself told the organon as the medicine of experience. He kept on going through trials and error, and where he had a lot of errors also, but then he came to the concept of potentization, which considered of serial dilutions of a medicine with agitations, that is succussion of the solution at each step in dilution. This reduced the physical dose of the medicine while raising the energy level. Such potentized medicine was found to be very beneficial to the patient while avoiding the side effect of the crude drug. So that was the objective, to reduce the side effect. Now let's talk more about its principles. A system of medicine based on the principle of like cures like, that is similia similibus curantur, which uses the smallest dose possible to produce a response. And let's talk about the origin. This principle was first described in Hindu writings over 3000 years ago. My friends, yes, it is true. This principle have been found in our Hindu writings, which was also mentioned by Hippocrates, Galen in the 2nd century and Paracelsus in 16th century. More recently, researched by a German physician, that is our father of homeopathy, Dr. Christian Friedrich Samuel Hahnneman. Now, let's cite some of the examples of the similia principle. My friends, all of you may be having the experience of peeling an onion that leads to sore, runny eyes, itchy nose, and sneezing. So, this is what an AIHSAYA, that is producing these symptoms. And it is used to treat hay fever and colds. My friends, the nettle stings produce a burning, itchy wheal on the skin. So, Urtica urens is a good remedy for similar skin lesions. Arsenic poisoning causes severe vomiting and diarrhea with burning pains and chilliness. Similarly, Arsenicum album is very effective in gastroenteritis and food poisoning. So, my friends, we can tell that the substances which are creating those symptoms in our day-to-day life also are also curing those particular set of symptoms. Now, let's see examples of the similia principle in medicine. Radiotherapy, which is used to treat cancer, also causes it. So, we know that the cancers are caused because of the effect of the radiations. Amphetamines, which produce hyperactivity, are used to treat hyperactive children. Similarly, we have the law of immunization, which follows the similar likes. Treatment of erythromelalgia with Praxilin medicine. So, what is the basis of treatment? Homeopathy works with the body's response to illness, and remedies are prescribed according to the symptoms. One remedy can be used to treat several ailments. One ailment may need to be treated with different remedies in different patients. So, my friends, now from these 2 points, I'm sure that all of you might have understood the principle, that how our principle of individualization will follow, as one remedy can be used to treat several ailments. With Brainia, we can also cure the ailments of gastrointestinal symptom, or the ailment of nervous system, or it might be the excretory symptoms. But one ailment, suppose if there is a gastric disorder of a person, that ailment may need to be treated with different remedies based on the principle of individualization. Next, let's talk about the cardinal principles, that is law of similia, law of simplex, law of minimum, doctrine of drug proving, theory of chronic diseases, theory of vital force, doctrine of drug dynamization. So, law of similia, we have already discussed, that is let likes be treated by likes. And law of simplex. Hahnneman states in aphorisms 272 to 274, only one single simple remedy should be administered to the patient at one time. This is the law of simplex. My friends, you should always remember the aphorisms 272 to 274, where Hahnneman clearly teaches us that we should form the portrait of the disease and then the portrait of the medicine. The medicine should be individualized. And when we individualize the medicine and match it with the portrait of the disease, then we will come up with only single simple remedy. Why? Because if we administer a lot of remedies, the case will become haphazard and will become doubtful. Now we come to the law of minimum. As we have already discussed this law, that the curative effect of the medicine does not depend only on the selection of a similar remedy, but also on the quantity of the medicine. Since the homeopathic medicines act at a dynamic level, only a minute quantity of the medicine is enough to stimulate the dynamically deranged vital force to bring about the necessary curative change in a patient. My friends, we are bringing about the necessary curative change in a patient. Why? Because the medicine that we will give in the minimum quantity, that will stimulate its action on the vital force, that is the human body. Now comes the doctrine of drug proving. My friends, drug proving is a systemic investigation and evaluation of the disease producing power of a substance on healthy human beings of sexes, each sexes, different age groups, and people from different places. So, my friends, what we are doing here is we are doing the systemic investigation. We want to understand the true effects of the medicine. And how are we going to understand that? We are going to understand that when we do the experiments of drug proving on the healthy human beings, then only we can find the systemic investigation and we can evaluate the disease producing power of the substance. Next comes the theory of chronic diseases. After 30 years of homeopathic practice, Dr. Hahnneman realized that the homeopathy failed to execute a real cure in some diseases. Now, my friends, what was happening? Even though the homeopathy was discovered and it was being practiced, Hahnneman was treating a lot of acute diseases, but he was finding a kind of relapse. Again and again, the disease was coming back. Now, what was happening, he was not able to understand. So, he observed that in many cases, symptoms got ameliorated for a brief period only to relapse at a later date. This intrigued him and made him reflect as to the possible cause of these failures. And my friends, what could be the possible cause of these failures? Then came the idea of the fundamental cause of the disease. That is the miasmatic concept, the incorporation of miasm as the cause of the chronic disease. Then came the theory of vital force. My friends, we know that vital force is the invisible vital energy that animates each organism and is the most intimate spark. What we understand? My friends, I'm sure that all of you must have attended the dissection classes. When we go for the dissection classes, we dissect each and every part of the dead body. And what do we see? We see that we saw the livers, we saw the liver, we saw the lungs, we saw the intestines, we saw every possible part. But what was missing? We were not able to find out that what was there, where was that spark that is gone. And that intimate spark is the energy. That energy is in each and every cell of the human body. That is the essence of the individual. That is the vitality. The material organism, that is the body, without the vital force is capable of no sensation, no function, no self-preservation. It derives all sensations and performs all the functions of life solely by means of the immaterial being, vital force, which animates the material organisms in health and in disease. Now came the doctrine of drug dynamization. Well, we have already discussed about it, that all the medicinal properties which are latent in a substance are extracted from their crude form for the curative purpose. We know that we do the drug dynamization by trituration and succussion. What we have to do, we want to extract these medicinal power so that we can give them in the minimum amount so that unnecessary aggravations may be avoided. Now we will go into the detail of the vital force and its characteristics. My friends, vital force has always been a mysterious topic to all the domains of sciences, because everything is governed by the forces, be it gravitational force, be it strong nuclear force, or the weak nuclear force, or the atomic force, whatever it is. It always comes to the conclusion of mystery. And now we will reveal that what mystery is there. So, the vital energy is that force which animates each individual. Animates means which creates the motion in each individual. While the vital energy is in the individual, that individual is said to have a life, to be, to exist. Even as the individual is derived from, becomes from the mating of two individuals, from the cell matings, may be handed on with physical characteristics of the parents, so is the vital force itself derived from an infinite source, a storehouse of dynamic power capable of developing and reproducing to an infinite degree in its manifestations. Yet, each individual partaking in greater or less degree of general vital characteristics common to all. What do we understand by this? We understand by this, after the mating of the two individuals, when the zygote was formed, the vitality had already come. And this vitality kept on increasing. And there was the storehouse of dynamic power. Before the person was born, that is, we're talking about the embryology. And there was the capability of developing and reproducing to an infinite degree in its manifestations, yet each individual partaking in greater or less degree of general vital characteristics common to all. So there were some characteristics which was common to all, but the individualistic characteristics are always unique, my friends. The vital force in the individual becomes therefore the ego, that most intimate spark of the individual, which is in itself the essence of the individual. So what we might call it the ego, which divides his individuality from all others, yet he is his closest relationship to the universe. This closely relates him to all living creatures, yet he is identical with none. So it is at once he is tied to all energy, all vitality, all life, and at the same time his insulation against the massed power of the whole. Without this vital force, there can be no life, no development. Since there is no static condition in nature, without a healthy, normal development of the vital force, we find a state of decay and death. My friends, as I told you, when this vitality is gone, then a state of decay and death will come. The substances themselves are derived from three kingdoms. The medicinal substances, my friends, I'm talking about, that is mineral, vegetable, and animal. The mineral substances in themselves possess vital energy. Since the medicines are dynamic, the vital force is dynamic, so they are working on the dynamic plane. So the mineral substances in themselves possess vital energy, but they are fragments of that which composes the planet, Earth, and that planet either possesses some form of vital energy in itself or is susceptible to being activated by vital energy. When we are talking about the elements of all the living creatures, that is the carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and several other elements which form up an individual. That is, they're derived from the earth itself by vital energy to such an extent that it performs its appointed movements according to the law. And we can use these minerals by proper preparation, that is our doctrine of drug dynamization, in the form of vital energy, not to perpetuate life, but to influence it in all three planes of body, mind, and spirit. What are we doing? We are not perpetuating it, but we are influencing. We are stimulating to stimulate the three planes of body, mind, and spirit, that the vital energy of the individual may be thereby guarded against decay and death. That is, we have to guard this situation of decay and death. We will have some more discussion on vital force that is capable of three forms of action. What are these? This is motion, direction, and balance, my friends. We should always remember that the chief characteristics of vital forces, it has its motion, it has its direction, and it has got its balance. These manifestations of energy are an integral part of an exhibition of vital energy. Why? If a person does not have a motion, that is, does not have an animation, is not animated, then what will happen? If a person is not being animated, then we cannot understand whether the vitality is there or not, whether the person is alive or not. And if it has got no direction, then what we will understand? If it has got no direction, then we cannot be sure that where is it going. And if it has no balance, then the tissues or the cells of the body will not work in harmony with each other, and there will be a haphazard state. Then there comes growth and development are directed motion, and in the degree of their perfection do we find the manifestation of balance. So the main objective is to maintain the balance. My friends, now we will talk about a very important topic, that is schools of philosophy and why do we need to learn them. We are talking about schools of philosophy, then that means that we are talking about incorporating the wisdom in our medical sciences. That is, we have materialism, idealism, and substantialism. My friends, let's talk about the materialism. The doctrine that the facts of experience are all to be explained by reference to the reality. My friends, materialism deals with realism. That is, whatever the reference we are talking, we have to talk in terms of reality, activities, and laws of physical or material substance. These things are to be governed by the laws of physical, that is, the entity should be confirmed, the reality should be confirmed, it should be true. In psychology, this doctrine denies the reality of the soul. So materialism does not believe in the reality of the soul as psychical being. In cosmology, it denies the need of assuming the being of God as absolute spirit or of any other spiritual ground or first principle opposed to spiritualism. So we understand that materialism is totally opposed to spiritualism. They don't believe in the concept of spirit. They don't believe in concept of soul. Materialistic theories have varied from the first, but the most widely accepted form regards all species of sentiment and mental life as products of organism. What do they treat? They treat the sentiment and mental life, that is, the mental thinking, the behavior, the personality, the psychology. They treat these points as products of organism, and the universe itself as resolvable into terms of physical elements and the emotions. Even they did not believe much in the spirits, much in the forces, but the presence of certain physical elements and the emotion. Now, my friends, let's talk about idealism. That system of reflective thinking which would interpret and explain the whole universe, things, minds, and their relations as the realization of a system of ideas. We talk about this system of reflective thinking where everything, mind and the relation, should be resolved in a system of ideas. That is, in idealism, everything should be done in the most perfect manner. The cure, the highest ideal of cure should be achieved. The mission of the physician should be his high, that is highest and only goal. There should be nothing more important or nothing less important than it. The everything that should be, it should be in the most perfect manner. That is idealism. It takes various forms, is determined by the view of what the idea or the ideal is and of how we become aware of it. So my friends, we can clearly relate the philosophy of idealism to our philosophy of homeopathy, and also we can correlate its existence with the achievement of cure, that is to take care of the individual. Now, my friends, we'll talk about another school of philosophy, that is substantialism. This is the doctrine that substantial existences or real beings are the sources or underlying ground of all phenomena, mental and material, especially the doctrine which denies that the conception of material substance can be resolved into mere centers of force. Now, substantialism believes in substantial entities, that is the atomic level, the subatomic level. The predominant thought of substantialism is that all things in nature which exist or can form the basis of a concept are really substantial entities. That is, everything is made of the minutest to the minutest entities, whether they are called so-called principles or forces of nature or the atoms of corporeal bodies. So we can find that it's somewhere between the materialism and the idealism, and where the substantialism will talk about the coexistence. That is, everything have got the minutest atoms or minutest particles inside them that even extends to the life and mental powers of every sentient organism from the highest to the lowest. Now, my friends, it's very much important. As far we have learned the schools of philosophy, we have understood the basic principles of homeopathy. But I have been talking to you about a lot about that. We need to individualize the patient. We should have a clear-cut picture of the patient. But how are we going to achieve that? And how are we going to learn that? What is individualistic? What is individual? What kind of people are we going to face? We must have a sound understanding of constitution, temperament, and diathesis. As we all know that the Paracelsus have told us that no knowledge is perfect unless it includes an understanding of the origin. That is the beginning. And as all men's diseases originate in his constitution, it is necessary that his constitution should be known if we wish to know his disease. Why? Because this constitution is the soil of the disease. On this constitution, the susceptibility of the constitution to a particular disease that will give us an idea about the diathesis. Then only we can understand that what wrong is going on inside the body of an individual. So we know that the definition of constitution is defined as a person's physical and mental makeup, which is revealed through his physical build, his characteristic desires, aversions, and reactions, as well as emotional and intellectual attributes. So it might be called the physical and mental makeup that comes from the genetic setup, and also the physical and mental characteristics which are modified by the environment. When we say modified by the environment, then we say the changes, they come from the environment. That is the accessory circumstances, my friends, we need to keep in mind. Then comes a very important classification, that is von Grauwagler classification that we might have seen in a lot of medicines, which are classified according to excess or deficiency of certain elements in the tissues and blood. The concept broadly classifies the type and nature of the physical makeup which is prone to certain ailments in given situations. So what are we going to talk about? We are going to talk about the constitution where there will be excess or deficiency of some elements. So the first is hydrogenoid constitution, where we find an excess of hydrogen and consequently water in the blood and tissues. When there will be an excess of hydrogen and water, then what will happen? It will correspond closely to Hahnneman psychosis, but it covers a much wider area and is not by any means confined to the acquired or inherited result of gonorrheal infection. So hydrogenoid constitution, we see that they are mainly aggravated by the excesses of water in the body, or this is their characteristic. They are aggravated by moisture and humidity, and they're prone to dropsy and anasarca. They belong to the psychotic group. That is, this marked periodicity of complaints. Like the medicines, we see arsenic, dalcamara, natrum, nitric acid, phytolacca, rustox, thuja, digitalis, antimtat, ipecac, etc. are the main drugs. So, as we all know that their major aggravations are from the cold or damp weather, and in rain, they're aggravated by exposure to both water and water products, cold weather, and the complaints which are aggravated by electric disturbance find a special place under this constitution. Now, my friends, let's talk about the oxygenate constitution, where there is excess of oxygen. We know that oxygen is very much important for our life, and without oxygen, we cannot imagine what the life do. Now, what happens when this oxygen is in excess? Then the catabolic processes of the human body will increase, and the body will become thin and thus ill on change of season. And also there will be destructive disorders involving the genitalia and diseases of central nervous system. Body is prone to ulcerations and self-destruction. As we see this person, there is excess of oxygen. The patient is thin and losing the weight, even though he's eating well. This is very characteristic. The person is eating well. And he likes, we can find the prominent glands, weak bones, and anemia, and worse when dryness is changing to humidity, and also worse in foggy weather. These are the nervous individuals and are characterized by increased physical and mental activities. This corresponds to Hahnneman's syphilis. And the major medicines are calcarea phos, paramphos, netphos, phosphorus, phosphoric acid, iodine, silicea, calcarea, nitramur, halibordus, tuberculinum, syphilinum, muxol, kaliiod, ferrum, and a lot of others. So what do we understand by this? We understand by this that the oxygenate constitution, it corresponds to Hahnneman syphilis, and there is a lot of catabolic processes going on, and there is a lot of destruction that has started. Now we come to the carbon nitrogenate constitution. My friends, when we talk about the carbon nitrogenate constitution, we talk about the excess of carbon and nitrogen in the body or insufficient oxygenation. Whereas in oxygenate, there was too much oxygen, and here there is lack of oxygen. So what is happening is that this constitution is marked by obesity, which is followed by emaciation in due course. That is, it runs between uh, hydrogenate and oxygenate. Earlier it is obese, then it becomes emaciated. The respiration is fast and shallow. We find the erratic working of the heart, lungs, kidneys, liver, spleen, etc. And other marked features are short breath, rapid pulse, constipation, and other disorders. So they are most tired individuals. They get tired very easily. They have unhealthy smell, offensive and irritating perspiration, boils, etc., and are aggravated by overfeeding, exertion, or anything which hinders the use of energy. Constitution corresponds to Hahnneman's Sora, and the major medicines are lycopodium, phosphorus, sulfur, and a lot of different medicines which belong to the soric miasms. So by the temperament, we know that it is a peculiar or distinguishing mental or physical character determined by a relative proportion of humors according to the medieval physiology. We have four major types of temperament, that is melancholic, sanguine, choleric, and phlegmatic. My friends, here you should pay emphasis towards the eyes of all these four constitutions. Just look at the melancholic eye. The melancholic eye is always in search of perfection. They are always sad. They are introverted personalities. They will not share what is going on inside them. They always are depressed, and they want that the thing should be perfect. Even though they are working very hard, they are painting a beautiful portrait, but still they are worried about that something might be wrong. Whereas my friends, the sanguine personalities are robust. They are very lively. They can interact with a lot of people. They can talk with anybody, and they are kind of jolly nature, and they are very active. They are like diffusive, like phosphorus. They can easily talk with the people and make the environment lively. Whereas my friends, choleric, as you see, they are very arrogant. They are very choosy, like platina. They suffer from superiority complex, and they think that whatever they are doing, the thing should be done in their way. They don't want anybody else's ideas. Whereas my friends, the fourth one that you can see is phlegmatic. They are self-contented. They are self-satisfied. They don't want to do anything more. And what do? They think that whatever the things are going, whatever the thing is happening, everything is going on well. They become fat with the time, like a crouched potato. They don't want to do any more efforts. My friends, let's talk about diathesis, which is a constitutional predisposition toward a particular state or condition. So what is diathesis? I would like to say diathesis is the constitutional predisposition. That the predisposition of a constitution towards a particular condition is called a diathesis. I can also relate it with the miasmatic concept, that is how the sora and syphilis, when they become tubercular, then that tubercular may be called a miasm, but it's better to call the tubercular diathesis, according to the concept of Dr. G.P. Patil, sir. The way he tells that the tubercular is a diathesis which is developed from sora plus syphilis. Similarly, we will be talking about it in detail in our further presentation when we will go into the detail. So, diathesis is recognizable by certain psychophysical characteristics by a group of diseases encountered in the ancestors. So, my friends, that is the importance of taking the history, the ancestral history, the history of the grandfather, the history of the father, that we take their history, and after taking their history, we come to know about a group of diseases that the genetic setup is suffering from. That is the number of associated disorders. Historically, diathesis was described in homeopathic medicine in conjunction with and as a sequel of a natural contagious chronic disease or miasmic disease such as tuberculosis, that is in the ancestors of the afflicted. So that is coming from the ancestral, it's coming from the genetic setup. So that is creating a predisposition, susceptibility or a stimulus. So my friends, diathesis has the following attributes. Keep in mind, the first is predictability of characteristics based on chronic disorders in one or more ancestors. We can predict, suppose the ancestors they suffered from cancer state, or they suffer from psoriatic states, or they suffer from any other disease of a particular type. So what we can do, we can predict that a person might suffer from such cases. Then comes as characteristic recognizable in early childhood, allowing timely detection of the predisposition. That is, some characteristic of the individual will be recognizable, that like his grandfather was very jolly, he had the leadership qualities, he used to be the leader of the village, and he used to be the MLA. Similarly, those characteristic comes with time. That is the diathesis. That is the condition, we say. Then comes predictability of susceptibility. We can predict the susceptibility, that a person is susceptible to hot, or a person is susceptible to cold environment, and a group of disorders. We can also guess about the prognosis associated with the diathesis. So my friends, I would like to tell that diathesis is very much important. Now, my friends, we will go into analytical interpretation and understanding relationship of miasms. My friends, this is a very important topic. And when we are talking about homeopathic philosophy, we can never miss the theory of the chronic disease, and which will give the understanding of the theory of miasms. So what are these things that we call the miasms? My friends, miasms may be defined as an invisible, inimical, dynamic principle. Just be careful regarding the word. We say invisible. So something, as I told you, that from the dissection classes, you were not able to find that spark. You were not able to find that energy that was inside the body. So the chief characteristic of a miasm is also an invisible, inimical. That is, again, inimical means that is against the life force, dynamic principle, which permeates into the system of a living creature. As I told you, the miasmatic force comes with our birth. It is the life-limiting force. It permeates into the system of a living creature, creating a groove or stigma in the constitution. See, it creates a groove, it creates a space in the constitution, which can only be eradicated by a suitable anti-miasmatic treatment. We have to keep a proper anti-miasmatic medicine for that. If effective anti-miasmatic treatment does not take place, then the miasm will persist throughout the life of the person and will be transmitted to the next generation. And when this miasmatic infection will be transmitted to the next generation, it will form the diathesis of an individual. That is the predisposition towards some particular diseases. So my friends, I've already told you that miasm is a dynamic energy which cannot be seen. Every living creature on earth, bacteria, virus, has its own miasm. Why don't we take the example of coronavirus? It has its own miasmatic force. And those persons who are susceptible to it, they get affected. And when they get infected, then what happens? This creates a groove or stigma inside the body, and it's really creating a havoc at the global level. My friends, we need to take this pandemic very seriously and follow the guidelines of World Health Organization, so that we can maintain the vitality of our vital force, so that all that is important is to reduce the viral load. We should be very careful, because this virus has become the virus of the 21st century now and is present everywhere. And our body, our vitality should be immune enough in order to counteract it. So what is it? I told you, every living creature on earth, be it bacteria, virus, anything has its own miasm. Miasm is hostile to the life-preserving energy, that is inimical to the vital force of any living creature. It is dynamic, as it affects the dynamic plane and thereby dynamically deranges the life-preserving energy of any living creature. So what is it happening? It is creating that dryness. It is creating anosmia. It is creating its most particular symptoms. Though a lot of patients are also asymptomatic. So what is happening? This miasmatic infection is occurring. The basic precondition of a miasmatic infection is susceptibility, my friends. Susceptibility is the soil. Susceptibility is the constitutional state. And this constitutional state will tell that how the person is going to be, or how the person is going to be infected. When a person or any living creature is susceptible, characterized by hypoimmunity, that is SORA. My friends, always remember, as H.A. Roberts teaches us, that SORA is a deficiency. Deficiency means there is a hypocondition. The inimical, invisible, dynamic principle of miasm gets the chance to permeate into the body as the immunity is low, and thereby the person is susceptible to receive such infection, my friends. So SORA is already predominant, SORA is already present, and then this SORA is joined by the miasmatic infection, and then we see particular signs and symptoms on the body, and which may be psychotic or syphilitic in their nature. So what happens after this enters in the body? After entering in the body, that is, it might be any virus, it might be any bacteria, or it might be any organism which had its own vitality or which had its own force, that is the miasmatic force. After it enters in the body, it tends to join the fundamental miasms already existing in the body, my friends. Keep in mind this. The miasmatic force is already existing in the body, plus the miasmatic force that is coming from outside. तो जो मियाजम पहले से हमारे बॉडी के अंदर था, उसके साथ साथ मियाजम बाहर से आया हमारे बॉडी के इन्फेक्ट करने के लिए. Then it takes the upper hand as the miasmatic force from outside plus the miasmatic force already dormant in the body conjoined together and dynamically affect the vital force. Then we see a condition that is the latent sora. What is it? The transient explosion of the state. Thereby dynamic derangement of the vital force occurs. So the miasmatic force dynamically deranges the vital force and that results in disease. So just see how the disease is being developed. There's always a battle going on inside the body between the vital force and the miasmatic force. In health, the vital force wins, and in disease, the miasmatic force wins. The miasmatic force creates a stigma or vacuum in the constitution. My friends, that's why we have to understand the constitution, that what sort of constitution it is. Why? There will be a space, there will be a stigma, there will be a vacuum inside the body, which can only be eradicated by suitable anti-miasmatic medicine. Otherwise, it is transmitted to the next generation. Now, my friends, let's talk about Hahnneman's miasm, that is Hahnneman's views on miasm. The definition of miasm by Dr. Hahnneman is, miasms are the fundamental cause of both acute and chronic miasmatic disease, as we have studied in Organon's fifth aphorism. They, that is acute miasm, are half spiritual, parasitic. My friends, keep your emphasis on these words. Parasitic, excessively minute, invisible living creatures which are capable of multiplication and are so inimical to life. That is written in Chronic Disease, page number 75. So what do we understand by this? We understand by this, Hahnneman even at his time was sure that the miasmatic infection, though the miasm is already dormant in the body, the parasite that will enter the body, that will have its own miasmatic force, that is the parasitic, excessively minute, invisible living creatures. These creatures will again create the problem. They will become the causes of the disease, and they will multiply inside the body. That will bring about the signs and symptoms. At this point, I would like to discuss about the 3 stages of illness. What is perceived as the problem to be treated is generally the tertiary expression of health, the abnormal growth, the abnormal thoughts and or behaviors. My friends, keep in mind, what we think that we are going to treat it, but it is not. It is just not primary, not secondary, but the tertiary expression of health. There are 2 preceding phases. The first is the initial trauma or the infection, when the person was infected, when there is usually a physical or emotional reaction, a rash or a discharge or diarrhea, vomit, that is an acute condition. So what are the preceding phases? The first is the infection, and if this then festers away within the organism like a virus until something erupts onto the surface, that is eczema, a mole, a wart, and an unusual discharge is the secondary phase. So the first phase is the infection. The secondary phase is the appearance of certain eruptions. When this is treated locally or removed, the activity beneath the surface continues and will find a new way to be expressed, which if repeatedly treated will lead to the third stage, the abnormal structure, which may manifest anywhere in the body or thoughts and the behaviors. My friends, always remember, what is this third stage? The abnormal structures which are coming. Why? They are coming after the secondary contraction. Why? Because the eruptions which was after the natural infection, they were treated locally or they were removed, then the disease was not able to express itself on the plane. So what it did, it created a further problem inside the human body, that is, it bited the heart or the lungs. So that is what we call the tertiary expression of health. So when the patient comes to us, we have to be very much cautious about the history taking and what are we going to treat. So my friends, let's discuss about the traditional and quantum view regarding health. Newtonian thinking was that if there are 5 states, that is A, B, C, D, E, a problem in one area can be replaced or treated, etc., without affecting anything else. This was a Newtonian thinking. And the quantum view was that all cells interact. One cannot be touched without affecting the others. So my friends, it's very, very important topic to remember that all cells interact. All cells, that is again the holistic concept, that is the quantum concept of our homeopathy. That is, every cell is an interaction. They're interacting with each other. It is not that the liver cells are affected. It is not that the heart cells are affected or the skeletal muscles are affected, but all the cells are affected. That is known as the biology of belief, as said by Bruce Lipton. Now, what is the aim of homeopathic case taking? We need to consider the whole person, that is the physical, emotional, mental, spiritual level, and the external environmental influences that will give rise to the holistic understanding. Always remember, my friends, we need to understand every single aspect of our patient. Now let's talk about the life force, the vitalism, as we have already discussed about it. That is, we have a healthy life force which gives the normal processes to maintain the healthy body and mind. Few people will have no inherited health issues. See, few people will be healthy and they will have no inherited health issues. These can lie dormant until awakened, then becomes active and destructive. The miasms or genetics, we can say. When life force and miasm genetics combine, that is the vitality and the miasmatic force combines, then what will happen? The person's mind, emotions, and body will be affected the first. Then what will happen? The stronger influences will give rise to benign or overrules miasm or the genetics, and the stronger of miasms or genetics will give to malignancy, growth, etc. If the life force is too weak, it cannot produce symptoms. If the life force, that is the vitality, is very weak, then the symptoms may not even be produced, and they may not be knowing that what is going on inside the body. So the eruptions on the skin or the eruptions or the other signs, these are good indicators of what is going on inside the body. Now, my friends, will talk about the inheritance. That is the acquired chronic diseases. That is the miasms or the genetic predisposition. We'll talk about the acute miasms or the childhood diseases. We'll talk about the application of psora, psychosis, or the syphilitic tendencies. The modern miasms are clearly recognizable entities. We can say, my friends, these are recognizable entities, and the imbalance of a function of an individual system has become a fixed functional entity. What is it? The imbalance of a function of an individual system. What? This could be the function of any part or any function of the body which has lost its balance. Then comes the tubercular state, which is a combination, which is the diathesis, which is the combination of psora and syphilis. And then we have cancer, that is again a combination of all the above, that is largely psychotic. And we have modern miasms, genetic predispositions, radiations, drugs, etc. Each of the miasms corresponds to one of the basic functions of the body that has become exaggerated. See, basic function is not functioning well, and there is an exaggeration. So pathologically, the main characteristic of the three are now regarded as psora, which we treat as deficiency, which is always hypo, where there is always atrophy and there is always failure of function. Whenever the disease is at functional level, we say that it is at the psoric level. And when there is an excess, when there is tumors, when there is growth, then we say it is a psychotic stage, that is, there is psychosis. Then comes syphilis, that is destruction, also perversion. So by this we understand that as far as according to the Dr. James Tyler Kent, Sora, we see that it is the deranged thinking, that is the evil thinking, whereas the psychosis and syphilis comes with evil too. That is their inaction. The Hahnneman, Kent, and Farokh Master's concept, I would like to say that Sora, man's first fall from grace when he stepped out of harmony with nature and universe, then there came Sora. Psychosis and syphilis were venereal origins, the result of lust and depravity, etc., which were endemic in 1800s and long before. The disease-like process, a perverted function, a functional change, a structural change, pathology is the end product, that is the syphilitic and psychotic state, where the functional level is gone. In the thought of Anne Watson's very modern thought-provoking perspective is that we participate in the creation of the problem rather than holding to the victim position that something out there is doing to us. Each miasm is a neutral energetic influence, and we should look at them as giving opportunities rather than enemies. Like, we should understand that what miasmatic picture is coming and what anti-miasmatic medicine or what anti-type we are going to select, what constitutional medicine we are going to get. That should be our opportunity. If there are negative sides, there should be positive sides of the miasms too. To see the miasm as an influence, you can work with, learn from, and be transformed by rather than something that is attacking you that has to be driven out. We have to learn about the state. We should not be afraid of the new viruses popping up, even if it is a pandemic situation. We all should keep on thinking about the new avenues, about the new discoveries, about our own medicines that we have. And we have already discussed about Sora, that is the mother of all miasms, that originates from Mang. All that threatens our immediate survival. There is a tendency to maladapt to the hostile environment, to temperature, weather. Maladapt means there is the adaptability is lost. There is something wrong with the adaptability. The body cannot adapt to certain conditions of temperature or weather or accidents or being attacked. So that will lead to acute disease. That is the production of the latent psoric state. The external is viewed as dangerous, that is allergies. Most mental and emotional disease, flaws in perception or education, or some functional impairment of most internal organs. Always remember, my friend, Sora is at the functional level. Early physical indication, that is the itchy spot. There might be some problem with the elimination processes, the great unwashed body odors, most internal ailments. That is what we call about the mental calmness of sulfur. That is also regarded as the king of antisoric medicine. We cannot even bear the smell or the odor of that particular person. Any internal disease that appears after a skin problem has been treated. Next, we come to the syphilitic state, that is decay, destruction, and death. By syphilis, we understand trypanoma pallidum, inherited or acquired. The first indication is the virulent open ulcer. All symptoms are slow to develop. This suppression of the ulcer leads to neurological illness. So my friends, we should always remember that syphilitic is keyword is destruction, there's decay, and it is causing the decay of the neurological cells, skeletal cells, and there comes skeletal pains, vascular problems, and chronic infections of rhinopharynx. So at the mental level also, how the syphilis is going to work is like there will be self-destructive behaviors, that is the suicidal tendencies. This disintegration of self, mind, and body, leading to mental and emotional distress. They're living a very distressful life. They're always in the middle of inner conflicts, the shadow side, the greatest depths of despair into hopelessness, continual balance between control and chaos. They're mentally slow or underactive. Also, there is a state of despair in this syphilis that can lead to suicide. There is a neurotic type with a tendency to destroy, with a plan to rebuild, but rarely does. So there's always they have such a terrific mentality that they want to destroy the things around them, and they want to rebuild them, but they cannot do it. Why? Because they're dull. They're not able to exhibit it, and they have such kind of evil attitudes. And then comes the pains and anxieties, which are worse from sunset to sunrise. There are skeletal pains, there are the structural deformities, there is distortion of nails, kidney problems, and we need to watch for ceaseless washing of hands. Always remember, my friends, this mania, washing hand mania is present there. Then comes psychosis, where we talk about the excesses or the overproduction, which originated from gonorrhea, that is psychosis like fig-like growths all over body. They're either inherited or acquired, made worse from separations, cauterizations, burnings, or freezing, etc. Overproduction of the excess, my friends, you should always remember when we are talking about the psychotic miasm, we're talking about the excesses. The first indication, and also there is always an imbalance, like there is always a hormonal or the neural imbalance in psychotic state. The first indication, the excessive catarrhal discharges, problems around mucous membranes. Over the top behaviors, we find the fits of anger or anxiety, cunning, deceitful, suspicious. Always remember, psychosis is very suspicious. They won't believe on anybody easily. And we know that psychotic miasm is the miasm of this century, where there is everything is a give and take relation, where everybody thinks that, yes, in place of this, what I am going to get. So will use any means to vindicate their actions. Everything is secret. They are very secretive. They will not share their plans. They have the worst types of cruelty. They have the worst forms of mania of any miasm. They are unable to collect thoughts while speaking or writing. They are unable to think of appropriate words, so slowness in speech. They are afraid of forgetting something, then shortly they'll remember what was forgotten. When linked with Sora, basis of criminal insanity and more suicides, they're factor or active with sunset to sunrise. They're sensitive to weather change, humidity, rain, snow, called parametric changes. As I told you that there is excess of proliferation. So there is multiple growths on skin, catarrh, and mucus problems. There we find heart diseases, sexual diseases, urinary diseases, inflammatory diseases, especially around pelvic area and joints. We have profuse discharges, fishy odors. There's often history of cancer in family. And also we find that sensitive to vaccination, vaccinosis. Many vaccines contain mercury. Babies, and also we should remember this point that mercury is a very unstable compound. So whereas in syphilis or the psychosis, we come to know that we need some kind of structural changes. Babies with constant snuffles, unbelievable colic from birth to about 3 months. Babies who sleep on stomach with bum up and they crave orange juice is also a very characteristic symptom of psychotic miasm. Then we have warts, herpes, cold sores, chronic conjunctivitis, urinogenital discharges. And they are better for breakout of warts. Whenever the warts are going to erupt, they are going to feel better. Why? Because something that was wrong inside the body has erupted on the skin. And only after the administration of the proper anti-miasmatic medicine, this eruption is going to go back. That is, there may be a return of gonorrheal manifestations or discharges. Next, here I would like to quote some of the sayings of J.H. Allen, where he writes about the psychosis in the chronic miasm. That psychosis may be said to be the most venereal of venereal diseases. It is a disease of lust in the broadest sense, hence the appearance of the mental phenomena early in its history. That monarch of the mind, the will is overthrown. He thinks, he wills, he acts, and out of that false triune develops the lust disease. He at once becomes a victim of the false and disintegrative power of the broken law, and the true physiological process at that moment ceases, and a false one is set up within that organism. So, my friends, you should always remember that what he thinks, what he wills, and how he acts is going to act in an evil way or in the wrong way. His will is overthrown. He's not sure about what he's to do. He is always suspicious, and there is always a lust. There is always this feeling of lust or the venereal disease behind it. Psychosis implanted on a rich of pseudosora soil develops into one of the most formidable enemies of the human race. When we say pseudosora soil, or we say that soil is the susceptibility, then such problems are likely to occur. Now, if we discuss about the tubercular, as I've already discussed tubercular, I will not go into its detail. I would say that there's a lot of ENT problems. They are sensitive to drafts. There is constant changing moods, and there is fear of dogs, cats, and storms. They love open spaces or gates, and they hate restriction. So that is how that's a tubercular miasm, also we can say, and also a tubercular inherited diathesis. And we say cancer is a combination of all of the above. There's adaptive failure, there's trauma, especially in childhood, death, suicide, etc. in family. They has to please everyone, but they cannot say no, and they're abused, humiliated, cannot speak out. There's chronic insomnia, there's cafe or latest spots or malls, and also they suffer from panic attacks. There's no childhood witness. What I want to say is that soul's way of telling you are not doing what you should be doing. So we have certain other what we call the miasmatic things in the modern theories, like radiation or mobile phones or pollution or chemicals in water supplies, drugs, legal and illegal, any substance that combines with the individual cellular structure. So we can say that these all have their own miasmatic forces that are going to derange the human body. Also, we will see here on the Hahnneman's miasm that the chronic miasms, the disease parasites, continue to live as long as the man seized by them is alive. That is written in Chronic Disease page 75 footnote. So these chronic miasm or the parasites that live in the body. The miasmas are found in the contagious matter of miasmatic disease. In acute miasmatic disease, the miasma is seen as the local eruption of secretions. My friends, we should always remember this fact, which is written in Chronic Disease page number 75 footnote. Also, the miasmatic diseases are caused by the dynamic infection. As I told you that we are going to talk about the miasmatic infection, which is again written in Organon's aphorism number 72. They must therefore all have for their origin and foundation constant chronic miasm, whereby their parasitical existence in the human organism is unable to continually rise and grow. Their parasitical existence, which is written in Chronic Disease page number 34, second paragraph. So again, he's talking about the parasitical existence, when something is there inside the body that is coming from outside. Again, he has written that or have these various acute half-spiritual miasms the peculiar characteristic that after they have penetrated the vital force or the first moment of the contagion, and each one in its own way has produced disease, and then like parasites have quickly grown up within it and have usually developed themselves by their peculiar fever and producing their fruit. This fruit is what? The particular symptoms. And they again die out and leave the living organism again free to recover. This is written in Hahnneman's Chronic Disease 75 footnote. So what do we see by seeing this Hahnneman's miasm? We see that we have seen the specific words used by Dr. Hahnneman to describe what he calls miasm, the fundamental cause of all acute and chronic miasmatic disease. These are infectious, these are disease parasites, these are excessively minute invisible creatures, these are capable of multiplication, these are found in the contagious matter of the miasmatic disease. So we understand that our homeopathic philosophy is the incorporation of materialism, substantialism, and idealism, and we should give our emphasis in all of these. So we should also understand the general nature of these miasms. As I
Sir,
told you,
I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but we have actually run out of time. So can you please conclude so that we can take
yes,
up
madam,
some
sure.
questions as well?
Sure,
Thank you so
sure,
much,
madam,
sir.
sure. So we have already discussed the general nature of all the four miasmatic states. So I will not go into the detail where Sora had functional, psychosis, there was incoordination, syphilis, destructive, and changing symptomatology in tubercular. So these are the particular tissues that get affected easily. I would like you to kindly go through the slide that is the different tissues where the miasmatic affection is going to be seen. Next, this is the nature of the disease that we have already discussed in detail in our earlier slides about the SORA, psychosis, syphilis, and tubercular. Next, we see the childhood illnesses. We see that measles links to SORA, mumps links to psychosis, chickenpox links to syphilis by their nature that we have already discussed, and croup or whooping cough links to tubercular, whooping cough links to cancer. So I will not go into the detail of much about the acute miasm and the chronic diseases. Here I would like to quote Lois Diathesis. It said that mental illness is the working of the defense mechanism which tries to make sense of the childhood conflict between the primitive impulses and repressive education. So this is a summary of primary, secondary, and tertiary action that we have already discussed. I will not go into much its detail. And when we are talking about the classical homeopathy, my friends, we are talking about the homeopathy which we are going to follow using our principles. Next year, I have quoted some of the medicines that you can review it through your slides. That in pulsatilla, we have VP and clingy, prefers fresh air to stuffy rooms. And staphysagre, we have suppressed anger. In chalcemia, we have shock and weakness. Calendula, you will have bleeding, hypericum, there will be shooting pains, nerves, spine damage, convulsions of head injury. Ledum, you will have puncture wounds. The rescue remedy, as we said, work back is emotions. Emergency, since we see in the Australian bush flowers. So these are all important, and regarding the potency, we will discuss in detail in some other times. And then we have flare-ups, we have the certain acute conditions. And again, there are the three planes where we discuss about the center of the gravity, that is the physical, emotional, and mental, that we have already been discussing so far. Next comes, this is a relationship, that is the cause of disease are dynamic and immaterial, and symptoms of the life forces method of saying all is not well. That's something that has come from the external stimulus. So this is again a detailed description of the physical, mental, and spiritual well-being, and about the role of the modalities, that all symptoms arise from within organism as a defense response aimed at corresponding disturbance. So this is again some quotes that I've quoted about our immune system failure and how our immunity or the vitality is going to play its role. Next, we have the practice of homeopathy. I would like to say that how one practice homeopathy will be based on one's philosophy of homeopathy. One need to be a diligent, unprejudiced observer of all phenomena. My friends, remember, all phenomena. We should go into the detail of all the phenomena. Then only we can have a sound practice of homeopathy. So what are the factors that limit the success of homeopathy? The greatest limitation is the ignorance of the physician, my friends. We should not be ignorant, and we should always follow the prerequisites of the physician. That is the horizon number 3. And the biggest problem is the lack of objectivity. We should have the strong objectivity while we are taking the case, because if you understand yourself, you will understand nature. The understanding of nature comes from the knowledge and experience. Without these, one lacks self-confidence. With success comes confidence, intuition, and good judgment. So we have to make a proper judgment. The second limitation is the patient. We should be very careful about what our patient is saying, what are the proper symptoms, or is he saying the truth or not. So we should be very, very much careful regarding this. And what is the qualities of a homeopathic practitioner? One must have empathy, that is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. He must be in good health. He must have love and compassion for humanity and nature. He must be well versed with homeopathic philosophy and methodologies that we have been discussing. He must be alert and a good listener. One must have confidence in one's judgments that yes, whatever I'm selecting the medicine, it's correct. One must have untiring zeal and freedom from all prejudice. He should be unprejudiced. One must have knowledge, especially self-knowledge. Homeopathy brings warmth to the heart, challenge to the mind, and material success. If one practices homeopathy, one will learn human nature. So at last, I would like to suggest that we should go for reading Organon of Medicine, and we should understand it with clinical demonstrations, as they play a very prominent role in realizing the science and art of homeopathy. As they keep for us a perennial interest, because each new case offers a fresh riddle for solution, excites a new our curiosity. Every problem solves open the way for the another and better world. So at last, I would like to conclude that the real homeopathic physician is such a specialist. He makes materia medica and the exemplification of the law his daily study. To him, it is a labor of unfledging interest and love, wherein he lives and almost has his being. Thus and only thus can he make cures that are impossible to the old time physician, and thereby justify a separate existence. So I would like to quote with the saying of Dr. Samuel Hahnneman. Thus, homeopathy is a perfectly simple system of medicine, remaining always fixed in its principles, as in its practice, which, like the doctrine whereon it is based, if rightly apprehended, will be found to be so exclusive and only that way serviceable, and that as the doctrine must be accepted in its purity, so it must be purely practiced. Thanks a lot for patient listening.
Thank you so much, sir. That was indeed very informative. I would like to request all our dear learners to quickly comment in the chat box with their questions now, so that Dr. Swami can answer them for you. And while they are doing so, sir, can you please say a few words about the course that we have at THA with you?
Yeah, sure. Well, I would like to tell everybody that I have a course with the Homeopathic Academy, which is free to enroll, and there are the 18 modules. And when we are talking about the 18 modules, you can have everything about the philosophical topic. It is a great course, and I would like to say it is my gift for all the homeopathic students and all the homeopathic learners, that they can directly go to the homeopathicacademy.com and enroll the course, where they can learn a lot about what they want to learn. They can also have a talk about, they can learn about the philosophy of the James Tyler Kent, about Stuart Clough, and about Herbert Roberts' philosophy. And also they can study about the biography of Hahnneman, and everything in homeopathy that they want to learn, they can have a summary of it. So I'm sure that all of you, all the participants should go to the Homeopathic Academy, and also should go to all the other courses, which are really made with a lot of efforts and with a lot of doctors. They have really done a great job. Similarly, for my course, you can find the enrolled link in the Homeopathic Academy that Madam may provide you in the chat box. So you can enroll to that course, and it will be very much helpful for all of your future talks.
Thank you so much, sir. So also I would like to tell our learners that THA has come up with a special Teachers Day offer, which will be valid only for today and tomorrow. So you can avail a flat 50% off on all our courses, for which you can use the code teacher50, and you can avail all our courses at a great discount for only this weekend. And so let's take up some questions, sir. Quickly.
Sure.
So a learner wants to know, can you please describe mixed miasm?
Yeah, sure. As I told you that the present situation, in present situation, we don't have only a particular miasm. We always have the picture of mixed miasm. But what we need to understand is we need to take up the predominant, like it is like if you peel off the flowers of a lotus, then what you will have, you will get different states, and you have to treat the patient accordingly. As when the miasmatic state is coming, or what miasmatic symptoms are in predominance, then you have to treat the patient accordingly. Since this is a state where you will find psoriasis, psychosis, and syphilis together in the case, so you need to you need to pick up the flaring symptoms, the flare-ups, so that you can give a proper anti-miasmatic medicine.
Thank you so much, sir. A learner wants to know, can we predict the disease of a person according to miasm and prevent them homeopathically?
Yes, of course, we can predict the disease from the knowledge of miasms. Since, as I told you, that miasm, the study of the miasmatic study tells us about what is going on inside the patient and what will be the fate of the disease. And also, from our aphorism, we know that he's likewise a preserver of health if he knows the things that derange the health. If you know the miasmatic state, the fundamental cause of the disease or fundamental cause of the sickness of a person, then what we can do? We can select a proper anti-miasmatic medicine so that the relapse of that condition will be countered, and even the coming of that particular condition will be countered as we talk about the homeoprophylaxis.
Thank you so much, sir. A learner wants to know if you can comment on the relationship between miasm and microorganisms.
Yes, sure. As you have already seen in my slides, that Hahnneman himself has referred a lot of times, according to your to the as bacteria or the virus or the minute creatures, the invisible creatures having their miasm. That is their miasmatic force. So what we can understand is that the miasmatic force of these bacteria or these parasitical influences the miasmatic force which is always present in our body. They conjoin together and they brings the derangement at the skin, or they bring the derangement in the mental, physical, or emotional level. So we should know about that.
Thank you so much, sir. I guess we should wind up here since we have run out of time. So let's wind up here. I'm so sorry for not taking up all the questions. I think we can take up in some other session, in the next session with Dr. Swami. And I would like to thank you, Dr. Swami, for such an informative and enriching experience, and a very warm gratitude on behalf of THA and on behalf of the BGN group. Thank you so much. Also, to inform our learners that we have an upcoming free webinar by Dr. Harsh Nigam scheduled for 12th of September, 11:30 a.m. You will receive the link for the registration in your mail and our social media handles as well. I'm also providing the link to you over the chat box, so you can quickly register from here as well. Also, thank you so much. Sir, would you like to say something to our learners?
Thanks a lot, madam. I would like to say that homeopathy is a wonderful science, and we should be really sound in our philosophy. And of course, if we keep on studying, if we keep on doing the works that we are doing, we will surely achieve the highest mission of the physician, and we will take homeopathy to the next greater heights, and we will do great and will excel in this field. And I would like to say that I would like to thanks to all my teachers, and especially I would like to thank Mr. Dale Emerson, sir, who is the director of the Homeopathic Academy, who have made me capable enough to be whatever I am today, and also to my all the teachers, especially Dr. Deboshi sir, Dr. Govind Panduram Patil sir, Dr. Ashish Jaiswal sir, who have been a great source of inspiration for me. And certainly, if today's session could inspire even a single student, even a single listener, then it would be great. And I'm sure that if we work together, if we go together, we can bring miracles. And homeopathy brings miracles and warmth to the heart. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you all, dear learners, the homeopathic fraternity who joined us here today, and of course, Team THA, who has been working hard to make this webinar as well as THA a success. Thank you for your time, sir. Thank you, dear learners, to have time out of your busy schedule. Have a great day. Keep learning. Keep improving. Meet you in the next webinar. So signing off. Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks.